Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. The Toronto Blue Jays front office just dropped a bombshell that nobody saw coming, and what's about to go down could completely change the trajectory of this entire season. While everyone was focused on Bassett potentially returning to Toronto, Ross Atkins and his team have been quietly working on something way more interesting, way more strategic, and potentially way more impactful. We're talking about bringing back Max Scherzer, and folks, this isn't just about adding another arm to the rotation. This is about bringing in a future Hall of Famer who can serve as a player, a coach, and a mentor all rolled into one. Spring training is officially underway, moves are happening fast, and the Blue Jays are making it crystal clear they're not sitting on their hands while injuries threaten to derail everything they built this offseason. Let me set the stage for you because the last 48 hours have been absolutely chaotic in Blue Jays land. Bassett, the guy everyone assumed would be coming back to Toronto, just signed with the Baltimore Orioles on a one-year deal worth $18.5 million. That's a division rival, folks. That's a team the Blue Jays are going to have to face multiple times this season. Bassett was a leader in that clubhouse. He was a stabilizing presence. He was the kind of veteran guy who made everyone around him better. And now he's gone, wearing orange and black, getting ready to face his former team. But here's where it gets really interesting. Mitch Bannon, one of the most connected Blue Jays insiders in the business, just dropped a report that has massive implications for how this team is approaching the rest of spring training and the regular season. With Anthony Santander set to miss 5 to 6 months and Shane Bieber's spring ramp-up being significantly delayed, the Blue Jays are actively exploring their options in the starting pitching market. And according to sources, they're still very much involved with several big names. We're talking Zach Allen, Zach Little, Lucas Giolito, and the name that's generating the most buzz right now, Max Scherzer. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't Scherzer like 42 years old? Hasn't he been dealing with injuries? Why would the Blue Jays want to bring back a guy who's clearly in the twilight of his career? And those are all fair questions. But here's what you're missing if that's your immediate reaction. Max Scherzer brings something to this organization that you cannot quantify on a stat sheet. You cannot measure it with ERA or WHIP or strikeout rates. What Scherzer brings is leadership, experience, championship pedigree, and the ability to mentor young pitchers in a way that very few people on this planet can. Think about the Blue Jays' current rotation situation. You've got Dylan Cease, who's a legitimate ace-level talent. You've got Kevin Gausman, a reliable veteran who's been excellent for this organization. Then you've got younger guys like Yusei Kikuchi, Jose Berrios, who apparently has some clubhouse drama we'll get to in a minute, and Cody Ponce, who's trying to establish himself at the major league level for really the first time as a full-time starter. And then there's Trey Savage, the young stud prospect who's going to be on an innings limit this season. Now imagine having Max Scherzer in that clubhouse every single day. Imagine Cody Ponce being able to sit down with a 3-time Cy Young Award winner and pick his brain about how to prepare for starts, how to handle pressure situations, how to adjust when your best stuff isn't working. Imagine Trey Savage, who's still learning what it takes to succeed at the highest level, getting daily lessons from a guy who started Game 7 of the World Series last year. That's invaluable. That's the kind of thing that can elevate an entire pitching staff even if Scherzer only makes 10 or 15 starts himself. And let's talk about what Scherzer can still do on the mound, because it's not like he's completely washed up. Yes, he's 42 years old. Yes, he's dealt with injuries. But this is a guy who literally started Game 7 of the World Series just a few months ago. The Los Angeles Dodgers trusted him in the biggest game of the season. That tells you everything you need to know about what he's still capable of when healthy. He's not going to give you 200 innings. He's probably not even going to give you 150 innings. But he can give you quality starts when you need them. He can eat innings out of the bullpen in long relief situations, and most importantly, he can be that emergency option when injuries inevitably strike. Because let's be brutally honest about where the Blue Jays are right now. Bowden Francis, who was supposed to be a key depth piece after his breakout last season, is done for the entire year. Shane Bieber, who was supposed to be your number 2 starter behind Dylan Cease, is dealing with forearm fatigue and his timeline is completely uncertain. Anthony Santander, your big offensive addition, is going to miss at least half the season. The luxury of depth that this team thought they had 3 days ago has completely evaporated. They need insurance policies. They need veteran presence. They need guys who've been through the grind and know how to navigate adversity. That's exactly what Max Scherzer represents. And here's the beautiful part about the timing. According to reports, Scherzer might be willing to wait until April or May to sign somewhere. He's not in a rush. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He's already a lock for the Hall of Fame. He's already won World Series rings. At this point in his career, he's looking for the right fit, the right situation, a place where he can contribute and mentor and maybe add one more chapter to an already legendary career. The Blue Jays can absolutely be that place. They can offer him a chance to pitch meaningful games in a competitive division. They can offer him a role where he's valued not just for his arm but for his brain and his leadership. And they can offer him a team that's genuinely trying to win right now, not rebuilding or retooling. That's appealing for a guy like Scherzer who doesn't want to waste the final innings of his career on a team going nowhere. Now, while all this is happening, the Blue Jays have been making some other moves that are flying under the radar but could actually be pretty significant. They just signed Juan Yepez to a minor league deal. Now, if that name doesn't ring a bell, don't worry, you're not alone. But here's what you need to know. Yepez is a 27-year-old who's appeared in parts of 3 big league seasons with the Cardinals and Nationals. In 2024, he posted a 103 WRC+ in almost 600 plate appearances. That's above average offensive production, folks. Yes, he struggled badly in 2025 at the AAA level. Yes, he's not going to make anyone forget about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But this is the definition of a low-risk, potential reward signing. The Blue Jays are thin in the outfield now that Santander is going to miss significant time. They need organizational depth. They need guys who can step up if injuries continue to pile up. Yepez can play first base, he can play corner outfield positions, and he's hit big league pitching before. If Dave Hopkins and the hitting development staff can unlock something in him during spring training, you might have found yourself a useful bench piece or even a platoon option. This is the kind of move that doesn't make headlines but could actually matter in September when you're trying to win division games and every at-bat counts. The Blue Jays are buying lottery tickets, and sometimes those lottery tickets actually pay off. Speaking of moves, the Blue Jays just won their arbitration case against Eric Loaisiga. Loaisiga wanted $5.75 million. The Blue Jays countered at $4.4 million. They went to arbitration, and the Blue Jays won. Now, normally arbitration cases are pretty dry, boring, procedural stuff. But this one actually has some interesting implications because of what's happened with the pitching staff. According to Ross Atkins, Loaisiga is going to be stretched out as a starting pitcher this season. That's huge. With Shane Bieber's status uncertain and Bowden Francis done for the year, the Blue Jays suddenly need Loaisiga to be more than just a long reliever or swing man. They need him to be a legitimate sixth starter option who can step in and eat innings when called upon. Winning the arbitration case means they're getting him at a more team-friendly number while also increasing his role and responsibility. That's solid roster management. And here's something else that's been developing that we absolutely need to talk about. Jose Berrios is scheduled to speak to the media today, and this is going to be fascinating because there's been some legitimate drama surrounding him and the organization. Reports came out that Berrios essentially quit on the team during the World Series. There was tension in the clubhouse. There were regrets on both sides. John Schneider had to address it publicly, saying they talked through it and they're moving forward. But how much faith can you really have in a guy who allegedly checked out when his team needed him most? That's not a small thing. That's not something you just sweep under the rug and pretend never happened. Berrios is going to have to answer some tough questions today, and how he handles that media session is going to tell us a lot about where his head is at heading into this season. Because right now, with all the injuries and uncertainty, the Blue Jays need Berrios to be a reliable middle-of-the-rotation guy. They need him to be professional, focused, and committed. If there's any lingering drama or resentment, that could be a real problem. The other big storyline developing is Trey Savage, the young pitching phenom, making his first bullpen session of spring training. By all accounts, he looked fantastic. The stuff was electric. The command was sharp. This kid has legitimate ace potential. But Ross Atkins has already made it clear that they're going to monitor his workload carefully this season. Don't expect Savage to throw 150 innings. They're going to be conservative with him, which is the smart play for a young arm with this much upside. But here's where having a guy like Max Scherzer becomes even more valuable. If Savage is on an innings limit, you need veteran arms who can absorb starts and keep the rotation functional. You need guys who can step in when Savage gets his periodic rest days or when they need to skip him in the rotation to manage his workload. Scherzer fills that role perfectly while also serving as a mentor to help Savage develop into the ace everyone believes he can become. Let's also talk about the division for a second, because the American League East just got more competitive. Chris Bassett's signing with the Orioles adds another veteran arm to a rotation that already includes Shane Baz, Zach Eflin, Kyle Bradish, Trevor Rogers, and Dean Kramer. That's a deep, talented group. The Yankees still have Garrett Cole healthy and ready to dominate. The division is stacked, and the Blue Jays cannot afford to fall behind early because of injuries and depth issues. That's why making a move for Scherzer makes so much sense right now. It's not about making a splash or generating headlines. It's about being smart, being prepared, and giving yourself the best possible chance to compete over a 162-game season. Scherzer brings stability, experience, and championship DNA. Those are things you cannot develop in the minor leagues. Those are things you cannot manufacture through analytics or player development programs. You either have it or you don't, and Scherzer has it in spades. The Blue Jays are at a crossroads right now. They can sit back, hope everything works out with their current roster, and pray that injuries don't continue to pile up. Or they can be proactive, aggressive, and make the moves necessary to solidify their chances of competing for a division title and a playoff spot. Based on everything we're hearing from insiders like Mitch Bannon, it sounds like they're choosing the aggressive route. They're still active in the pitching market. They're exploring all their options. And Max Scherzer represents the perfect combination of short-term help and long-term value as a mentor and leader. Spring training is just getting started, but the Blue Jays are already making it clear they're not messing around. They've got injury problems, they've got depth concerns, and they've got a competitive division breathing down their necks. But they also have a front office that's willing to make moves and take calculated risks to put this team in the best possible position to win. So here's what I need from you right now. Smash that like button if you think the Blue Jays should absolutely bring back Max Scherzer. Drop a comment below telling me whether you trust Jose Berrios after all this clubhouse drama or if you think it's going to be a distraction all season long. And make sure you hit that subscribe button because spring training news is coming fast and furious, and you're not going to want to miss a single update as this roster takes shape. Things are getting wild in Blue Jays land, and we're covering every single development as it happens. Let's go!